and get to know people who are here. I always like to point out our friend, the eminent Brian Lane of Asian Tigers, is here. Quite a personality, of course. Eric Nielsen, who's done a good job here now with AsiaCEOForum2012 running their BPO operations here. Also on the BPO side, we have Keith Jones of Cognizant is here. He's a big, tall guy. You can't miss him, although I don't see him right now. We have, some special guests. Delphin Wenceslao of Asiana City, obviously a prominent in real estate and in the construction business here. Marianne Elsera of CashSense, the managing director, is here. We have Michael McDermott of Roadpacker, who I just met, is here. Oh, okay. Everybody's heard of the Manila Ocean Park. The general manager, Lim Chi Yong, is here. Where is Lim Chi Yong? Can I see him? I'd like to see what he looks like. Where is he? I know he's here. He's on the list. Oh, well, we'll get him later. We have Adeline Antonino of GE Antonino. We have Pia Mantecon of Aboitis Land is here, the Senior Vice President of Operations. We have Renato Galve of SGV, the Head of Transactions, is here. I'll mention Scott Darrow, the Head of, prominent guy within Volundaya, another fast-growing BPO operation, is here. A number of people from iRemit, obviously a fast-growing, interesting group. We have the President and COO, Harris Jasildo, is here. Where is Harris? Okay, there's Harris. Oh yeah, there you are. Okay, hi, Harris. Armin Dementillo, the ExCom chairman, is here. Where's him? Okay. We have Bert Verena of Sterling Bank, the president of Sterling Bank, is here. We have Eris Malantic, partner with SGV, runs their, I think, the assurance side. We have the president, CEO of Paramount Life Insurance is here, George Tew, and the vice chairman, Rosanna Go, is here. Daniel Yu, the SVP of Security Bank, is here. It's a nice bunch, so please talk to people and try to meet. With our groups here, we have Jones Lang LaSalle. We have another eminent fellow, Nando Camus, is here, as well as Sheila Lobian and a number of others, a good group here. ComNet, we have the president here, Richard Gann. Where's Richard? And everybody's shy today, I see. PLDT, we have a nice group here, of course. I see Pressy, I see Irene, I see a number of other people, so nice to have them, of course. And Meralco, we have another nice group here, another kind of a dynamic group. I know people don't think of utilities, electric utilities, as dynamic, but this one certainly is. Ruth David is here, Vice President of Business Development with Meralco, and another good group. Yeah, there's Ruth there. Very good. Also a few more. Luther Calderon, the head of CAMPI, a number of NGOs focused on OFWs, CAMPI, and I think it's spelled Cabalacat, is here. Ramon Cuervo, board member of PRC, the Professional Regulation Commission, is here. Glad to have him, a nice fellow too, I should say. William Chua, director of Sterling Bank, is here. Also glad to see Bansan brought, or maybe they were forced to come, but his two impressive-looking children, Erwin Choa and Nicole Choa, are also here. Obviously, they play a prominent role within their growing businesses. So, I'll talk about our friend Bansan. He's one of these real high achiever types. I think how many of you know him, but that would certainly fit his description. He's been involved with iRemit since 2002, but in a full-time, day-to-day capacity since 2005. travels extensively. Certainly it's become a large operation within Philippines and with offices throughout the world, and also very innovative. It's interesting that in an industry that you would think would naturally be dominated by banks, he has done a heck of a job to expand his business and grow his business and differentiate himself from other organizations. So I think we're all interested to hear about that part of it. The innovation side is something you often hear about with iRemit. ADB gave them a Most Innovative Award. Our Asia CEO Awards gave his company a Most Innovative Award. First to use web-based interfaces for remittances. One of the first to do inter-country remittances and so forth. So we'll hear his story. He has a very in-depth presentation. So after today, you will be experts, or at least close to it, in the remittance business, which is a key business, of course, here. His other activities are many. He's started off as a chartered public accountant, a CPA, also a lot of work in the real estate business, chairman of various banks, property companies, construction companies, and so forth, as well as NGOs. As I said, a real high achiever type and extremely organized. I can tell you his presentation materials were done early, and they were done in great, great detail and so forth. So please, we'll welcome BansanChoa, the President and CEO Chairman and CEO of iRemit. Do you want to hold this, or
I'll just put it there.
put it there? Okay.
It's easier,
Yes.
so I can flip the pages.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, it's okay. Mr. Richard Mills, Chairman of the Asia CEO Forum, Ms. Rebecca Bustamante, President of Clerk Associates Executive Search, Mr. Don Felbon, Mr. Bob Bustamante, friends and colleagues in business and industry, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure and honor to be able to address you today and talk about remittance industry and our company, iRemit. I thank the organizer of the Asia CEO Forum for this welcome opportunity to give you an insider's view of this interesting phenomenon associated with our country. The invitation that I received from Mr. Richard Mills mentioned that there are a lot of misconceptions about business, and that is of interest for people to understand how and why the business works, how important the industry is to the nation and individual families, and what unique contribution the company has made to the industry. The presentation today will deal with the past, present, and the future of the remittance industry and iRemit. iRemit, on its 11th year, was named as the Business Mirror Most Innovative Company in the Asia CEO in 2011. It remains the largest Filipino-owned non-bank remittance company and the only publicly listed remittance company in the Philippine Stock Exchange. Let me therefore begin my talk with a brief background of Filipino migrant workers, of the more than $20 billion industry that we have today. Stories abound, and when Filipino overseas employment actually began. Many claim that the first large scale of migrant Filipino workers began over 100 years ago. from northern region left the country from 1906 to 1929 to work in sugar plantation in Hawaii. However, some contemporary historians point out that the history of Filipino migrant may have started much earlier. There are in fact anecdotes that our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, who made a brief trip to Japan on his way to Europe in 1888, while taking a walk in Hibiya Park, met some of the Filipinos, introduced themselves as musicians of a Japanese orchestra that have been just finished playing straws. Still, there are those who mention that Filipino crews manned the Spanish vessel that plied the Manila-Acapulco route of the galleon trade between 1575 and 1815. They were regarded today as Filipino seafarers who brought the crew members who jumped ship later and settled in St. Malo village of the state of Louisiana, USA, and became known as the Manila Men. Regardless of when Filipino labor migration actually began, there have been observed trends that have characterized the distinct waves of Filipino workers that have left the country in the more contemporary setting that are closely associated with global economic and demographic shifts. The first major modern-day mass migration of Filipino followed the immigration reform in the United States in the mid-1960s. The wave was in response to the need for more professional, particularly in the medical and allied field. Thousands of Filipino professionals, mostly doctors and nurses, arrived in the U.S. with their families. Most of them ended in the East Coast, as distinct from the earlier migrant that had earlier settled in the West Coast and Hawaii. In mid-1970s, overseas employment gained considerable national importance as it was adopted by the administration of the President Ferdinand E. Marcos as a temporary measure to curb unemployment and prop up the sagging economy. The idea contract worker actually came from the great patriot and statesman Ka Blas Ople, the father of OFWs, who was also behind the framing of the Labor Code of the Philippines. It was also during his tenure as Minister of Labor that the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration were created, thus making labor export a conspicuous feature of national economic policy for many years to come. He was also instrumental in the creation of the National Manpower and Youth Council, now the Technical Education Skill Development Authority of the well-known TESDA. The decade was marked by a construction boom in Middle East and Northern Africa. This next wave of migrant Filipinos consisted of construction and production workers on fixed terms. In 1980, the emergence of tiger economies in Asia shifted the direction of deployment to countries such as Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. And the focus of the recruitment became service workers, particularly domestic helpers and blue-collar workers. In 1990, up to the present day, the rapidly aging population of developed countries in Europe and Asia and the emergence of knowledge technology gave rise to a new wave of Filipino migrant workers consisting of professionals in the medical field and healthcare, information technology, and business professionals. Today, overseas Filipino workers are often hailed as the country's modern-day heroes and a savior of the Philippine economy, and their remittance to the country have been one of the main drivers of the engine of growth. Official government statistics place the number of OFWs at 9 million, while more recent estimates place the number of OFW at around 12 million in 232 countries, territories, and jurisdictions around the world, including those that are undocumented and the direct hires. Based on the figures of the National Statistics Office, 52.2% are male and 47.8% are female. It is also estimated that 20% of the total population are single, with many having financial responsibilities for their parents and siblings. Among the female workers, 60% are legally single, though not necessarily without family or children. The largest number of OFW are in the age group 25 to 39 and 23%, and 30 to 34 at 22.6%. In terms of origin, most of them come from Calabarzon, Central Luzon, and the National Capital Region. National Capital Region with 16.5%, Central Luzon 14.3%, and 12.5% respectively. The United States is the leading migrant destination of Filipinos at 33%, while Saudi Arabia is the top employer of overseas Filipinos, employing about 16%, followed by Canada and United Arab Emirates with share of 7% each. According to the finding of noted economist Dr. Bernardo Villegas, most OFWs are not really the poorest of the poor. They are from middle-income households that earn an equivalent of $2 to $10 per capita per day, and thus are able to afford the high financing costs required by recruiters. Many of them choose to migrate mainly because of the significant wage and income differential between what they can earn here and what they will receive if they work abroad. This is the very reason why, over the long term, there will always be Filipino professionals going abroad to work, even if the Philippines is able to eradicate poverty completely. Due to the demographic winter in the advanced economies and exceptional talent and personal qualities of Filipinos, knowledge workers from the Philippines will always be in great demand abroad. Remittance to the country come predominantly from the land base. We contributed about 78% of the inflow, while sea-based workers accounted for 22%. The government target an annual deployment of 1 million or more workers. Among the land-based workers deployed, about 70% are rehires, while 30% are new hires. So just to let you know, the new hire is not that much compared to the total being deployed. The World Bank currently ranked Philippines as the fourth largest recipient remittance in the world, after India, who have about $55 billion in 2011, China, about $51 billion, Mexico, about 25, and Philippines, $20.1 billion. The origin of the money transfer or remittance business date back over 140 years ago, and it most closely associated with the use of telegraphic and the telegram as a means of communication. In the 21st century, international electronic fund transfer facilities have replaced the telegraph, and many banks and non-bank remittance companies have begun utilizing the internet to provide money transfer service. A few have already extended their services to include the use of mobile phones and personal handheld devices, and non-traditional entities such as convenience stores for their customers to be able to send money. In the early years of organized overseas deployment by the Philippines, OFWs often encountered difficulties in accessing the money transfer facilities of banks in their host countries. Large Philippine commercial banks with branches abroad, courier and cargo companies, and unregulated money transfer providers filled up the gap. A considerable number of overseas workers also relied on informal means of sending money home, such as through padala or the hand carry system. Locally, family members and beneficiaries of OFWs found it intimidating to receive funds sent to them through local bank branches. And part of it because not many branches also are available in their provinces. Hence, courier companies began to offer the door-to-door cash delivery. From the 1980s to the early 1990s, and as more workers were deployed to more countries, Philippine banks opened new offices abroad and established partnerships with foreign banks and foreign exchange companies to tap more of the increasing OFW remittances. The industry is dominated today by the country's 5 largest universal banks that lay claim to 85% share of the total remittance flowing through the formal channel. However, this figure does not fully capture the breadth and depth of the local money transfer industry, which includes many more players including thrift banks, rural banks, microfinance institutions,